Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. We're glad that you're here. Thanks for spending time with us this Sunday morning, and those online as well. We're glad that you're here. We are in a series called Happily Even After. It is a series on the book of Ruth in the Old Testament. Very short book, 4 chapters. We're taking a chapter a week. They're very short chapters, too. So if you've missed any of this series, you can go back to our podcast and follow along and check that out. I said that recently, and someone who was here first service said, I'm going back to like 2021 and listening through all the different messages, and I was like, that's awesome. And then our YouTube channel as well has them if you want to watch them while you're running or have them on in the background or whatever. But we're in chapter 3 in the book of Ruth today in the Old Testament, and warning, things are going to get weird today, all right? And a little bit rated PG today. If you have young ones here in the room, the title of the message today is Designer Sex. And doesn't everybody want to hear from their pastor when it comes to this subject? And if you're sitting by your mom and dad, really fun. I see you over there. So let's look. That's going to be awesome. I like to lean into the awkward. In case you're new, let's do a quick reminder of kind of where we've been. Ruth is kind of our protagonist of the story. She's a widow, and she just so happens to wind up in a field that's owned by a guy named Boaz. And I love the way that the Bible says that. She just so happened to wind up there. Listen, this isn't chance. This isn't the stars aligning or her horoscope said to go to this field, you're going to meet someone or anything like that. Just like this series has really, we're talking about, is about God's sovereignty. That He is in control, that He has the pen to the parchment of our lives and is encouraging us to follow His narration, His way. But we have free will. We can choose to go our own way or to go His way, which is always better. So she just so happened to end up in Boaz's field as she's following God, where she meets a man who loves God, who is a steady man of character, and they kind of have their first date, I would say, right? And reading into it a little bit, it's going really well. There's connection. He makes her laugh. She makes him feel special. There's no lag in a conversation. They're like finishing each other's sandwiches or sentences, whichever way you want to go there. Then, after the great first date, nothing. He is like ghosted her. No next morning call, no text on the way home. Hey, it's just checking to make sure you got home safely. And he doesn't even follow her on the gram. She's like scratching her head going, there's been 7 weeks now. And still he's not reached out. What did I do wrong? Did I read into something a little too much? Or maybe it was this. I hadn't showered when he saw me. I've been working in the field all day. And so her mother-in-law, who she lives with, her name is Naomi, she says, Ruth, it's time for a DTR. It's time to define the relationship. You know what I'm talking about? Every relationship has to have one of these where they decide in this conversation, where is this thing going? Is this exclusive? Are we seeing other people? Are we friends? Are we more than friends? And if this is something that we are exclusive, we're together, are we going public, on social media? Are we going, if it is, are we doing a soft launch? Are we doing a hard launch? This is a DTR. Define the relationship. And so chapter 3, I think, does a good job of helping us navigate this season. And here's how the story goes. Verse 1, one day, Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, said to her, my daughter, I must find a home for you where you will be well provided for. Now, Boaz is a relative of ours. Tonight, he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, let me show you a picture. This is a threshing floor, okay? So at harvest season, when you would gather the barley, you're gathering the wheat, they bring the finished harvest, the crops, to a threshing floor. You bring all your workers out and huge piles of harvest there, of crops, and you take it and kind of throw it up in the air, and the wind comes sweeping through, and the wind will take out the useless stuff. And the heavier, like the grain and the barley, that will fall back to the ground. It's kind of how they kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. And this will basically determine how successful your harvest season was. Okay, here's the part that we can eat. Here's the stuff we can sell. It basically determines your profit for the year. So at the end of harvest, you've got Boaz. That's the guy, he's at the threshing floor. His workers are there as well. And so what are they going to do? They're going to have a payday party because it's Friday night, right? It's like the paychecks are here. It's time to party. And this is going to be a party like they haven't seen in a long time, because if you remember from the book of Ruth, there has been a famine for a decade. It's been hard, lean times. This is the first year they've had a great bump of crops. And so they're like seeing how much they've gotten. They're going to party like they haven't done for 10 years. And Naomi, she's back home with Ruth, and she's strategic. She's thinking this through, going, okay, Boaz, we know where he's going to be tonight. He's going to be at the threshing floor. His workers are going to be there. They're going to be partying. And so verse 3, watch this. It's kind of funny. She says, Ruth, wash. Put on some perfume. Get dressed in your best clothes. Go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know you are there until he's finished eating and drinking. It's a good place to start, everybody, all right? If you want to go into a relationship with a significant other, great advice here from the Bible: wash. Soap, optional but helpful, yeah? Middle schoolers and boys especially, check that out. Good thing, Axe body spray by itself does not count, all right? Actually, it demotes you, actually. And if you're wanting to have this, you got to wash. He said, put some perfume on, the last time he saw you, Ruth, you were not at your best. You were a hot mess. Your hair was all ratty. You need to show him your glow up. You need to get on your best fit. And I love what she says here. It's kind of funny. Let him finish his chicken wings and his bourbon before you let yourself be known, right? Because men, you're always at your happiest after you're done eating and drinking. So you kind of see Naomi, she's a strategizer. But this is where, I told you, it gets weird. Verse 4, in the Bible, she says, when he lies down, note the place where he's lying, and then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. Now, first of all, why is he going to lie down on the threshing floor? Because he's going to spend the night. This is the place that all the prophets are. And so he is going to spend the night. There's probably going to be some of their workers who are going to be there too. They're going to spend the night because they don't want any thieves to come and steal the hard work that they have put into this season. So he says, note where he's going to be lying down. Don't get them mixed up, first of all. Don't get the men mixed up. You want to know where he's lying down. So, listen, I have sons. I don't have daughters. If I had a daughter, this advice is not one I would give my daughters, all right? Do not give your daughters this instruction, right? It's pretty crazy. Here's what I want you to do. Go to the party. Wait for him to be a couple drinks in. Wait for him to be out, laying down, and then sneak in and whisper to him, what do you want me to do? And probably not the best thing, right? So this is in the Bible. What is Naomi communicating? What is she advising her daughter-in-law to do? Now, so as your pastor, I went to my commentaries and said, okay, I need to know what these scholarly individuals are saying that is happening here, and there's three different theories. The first one is that when Naomi is telling Ruth to uncover his feet, basically this is a euphemism for get to know more about him, uncover more about who he is. And as a graduate of Bible college, seminary, my professional opinion is this theory is trash, all right? Trash, not a good theory. I don't think this is it at all. The other two theories, I think this one has maybe a little bit of truth to it. Another theory suggests that Naomi is actually telling Ruth to be a little more aggressive, to go on the offense here. Maybe not throw yourself at this guy, but you need to make yourself known. I believe, though, the most accurate theory that I've read, that I think this is right. We've been saying this every week in this series. You have to read the book of Ruth through the lenses of God's goodness and his sovereignty. So I think what Ruth is saying here is trust, or what Naomi's telling Ruth is trust in God's sovereignty. He is in control of this whole situation, and he has led you to this man, Boaz, and we know you can trust his integrity. And so put yourself in that place, in the right place, at the right time, and our right God will bring you the right man. Trust in his sovereignty. I think that's the most accurate of the theories here behind this, because Boaz, what we have learned is he is a potential guardian redeemer, or a kinsman redeemer, based on what your Bible translation is. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, but basically it means that this is a person who can be a provider and a protector and a spiritual covering for a widow like Ruth. And so she's saying, you might want to just kind of give him a little push. Make yourself known to him. And ladies, and some of you young ladies in the room, you need to know this. Sometimes we guys need that little push. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Sometimes us guys, we are a little insecure, sometimes a lot insecure. And you're saying, hey, that ain't no secret. But just gotta act like it's a secret and don't let us know, because you can you're gonna hurt us even more, all right? But you can let it. Sometimes we need a little bit more of a signal, and that's been true in my life, and especially in my relationship with Janie. In week 1 of the series, Janie joined me up here. We've been married 20 years. Janie, she shared her story of her first marriage. That was 11 years. That ended in divorce because of years of infidelity from her ex-husband. So she shared that with you. You can go back to week 1 of this message and check it out, which I was laughing yesterday. I told my sons, I went to the YouTube channel of our church and said, I want you to see, like, whenever I teach, the views on the YouTube is like, hey, 60, 80. When Janie teaches, it goes triple digits. What does that tell you? I need to get Janie up here more often or something like that. But week 2, I talked about my story a little bit. Like in my 20s, I was single pretty much all of my 20s. And it was a decade of dating disaster. And the reason is because I was so focused on trying to find the right one, thinking the one is out there somewhere and I got to find her, that I wasn't the right one for anyone. And so it wasn't until I recommitted myself to the pursuit of Jesus, letting him be my pursuit, not marriage, not another woman, God. It was in that season when it just so happened I found myself playing cards one night with Janie and a bunch of other people, and there was some flirting around the table. Now, just like Boaz and Ruth, though, I wasn't quite ready to make my move because I knew she is out of my league, okay? And so I'm not putting myself out there just to get a rejection. And so I am just kind of playing it back. I'm kind of playing it cool, like not cool at all, actually. But we have 2 mutual friends who were married, Neil and Amy, young couple, and they also wanted us to get together. They're playing matchmaker a little bit. They're always at me like, hey, you should ask Janie out. And so one day, it just so happened that a big group of us were going to go to a haunted house on a Friday night. So I went to Janie and said, hey, a big group of us are going to a haunted house. Do you want to come with us? She said, sure. What time should I be there? Well, we're actually going to go to dinner and then a movie and then to the haunted house. So be at the church at 5 p.m. So Neil and Amy and I show up at the church at 5 p.m. and Janie pulls in and she gets out of her car and she's looking around going, where's everybody else? And I said, oh, they're meeting us at the haunted house like at 9 o'clock. We're doing dinner and a movie first, just the four of us. Now, internally, she's reassessing the whole situation going, oh, this is not what I thought it was. This is actually a double date. So fast forward into the evening, we've had dinner, we've gone to the movie, and Neil and Amy Neil's driving, and he takes a pit stop into a Walmart parking lot on the east side of Indianapolis and says, hey, Amy and I need to go into Walmart to get some toothpaste for tomorrow. Come on. So they go in, you guys stay here. So Janie and I are in the car by ourselves, and Janie takes this opportunity to DTR. She goes, we need to talk. She said, this was not what I thought it was. I thought this was a big group of people, and I show up, it's the four of us. This is a double date. Matt, you need to realize I went through a divorce. I want to take things slow. Yes, I have feelings for you, but now, apparently there was a lot more she said after that phrase. And you know Charlie Brown, the cartoon, whenever the adults talk, they go, wah, 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 wah. That's basically all I heard from Janie after she said, yes, I have feelings for you. That's all I locked and loaded on. I'm going, what? This is amazing. I didn't hear any part about the let's take things slow. I'm like, let's go. So ladies, sometimes you need to give a little bit of a push. Now, Ruth goes and lies down at his feet. She's at the foot of his bed. And I want to be very clear here. This is not, in the Bible, this is not prescriptive. This is descriptive. In other words, this is telling us what happened. This isn't saying this is what you should do. And I actually like the fact that this is in the Bible because God could have been an editor who said, oh, let's not leave that in there. Let's take that out. Instead, God says, let's put the real and the raw stuff in the Bible because that's who my people tend to be. And sometimes we do dumb things in our life. Sometimes we do really, really dumb things in our life. And I've told you a lot about Janie and my relationship, but I know there's a lot we did right in our relationship. We prayed together. We waited to have sex until we were married. We did not live together before we were married. We built a foundation on Jesus together. And the encouraging truth in the book of Ruth is that even if you don't get it right, God can make it right. Because there are times in our lives, even Janie and I's relationship and other relationships, we did not do things right. Even if you don't do everything by the book, God is still working. And some of you right now, you may be in a relationship that is not on track with God right now. Things are all jacked up. Or maybe you've ended a relationship and you're struggling with kind of the sexual ghosts that happened and haunt you and the stress and the hurts that have come out of that. You serve a redemptive God, a God who is forgiving and gracious and good. But that does not mean we can take advantage of him and go, well, I guess I can do what I want to do, and then just come back to God later on and ask for forgiveness. But this should be encouraging to you that our God is so good. And I hope that's encouraging to you because it's about to get even weirder. All right, verse 7, here we go. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking, it was in good spirits, I like that. He went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. Who are you, he asked, or in the Joey Tribbiani translation, it says, How you doing? I am your servant, Ruth, she said. Remember me 7 weeks ago? Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family. Now again, what's a guardian redeemer? What's a kinsman redeemer? What would happen here if there was a widow in the ancient Jewish custom? If her husband obviously died, the deceased husband's brother or cousin, they were responsible spiritually to provide, to protect, to be the spiritual covering for that widow. That's the guardian redeemer. And so who is Boaz? He is a potential guardian redeemer, but he is a distant one. He is not the next one in line. He doesn't have the legal responsibility or obligation to provide for her. And she says, hey, would you cover me up? Would you be my spiritual redeemer? And some scholars, I was looking in the commentaries, they think that this is like a proposal, that Ruth is proposing to him. I don't think that that's actually the case. I think she is proposing that he should propose. Yeah? And so again, sometimes you have to help each other out to move things forward. Boaz, he's in good spirits. She's by his bed. She grabs the covers. She asks for him to provide. And what happens here? They end up spending the night there. Now, does that mean, do you think this means that they had sex? Well, I'm going to tell you, actually, I don't believe they did, and I can actually show you why I don't think that they did, and which makes me think of a question that I got a lot as a youth pastor, working with a lot of middle school students and high school students who are in the middle of dating relationships and young adults. They would often ask me as the youth pastor, Pastor, how far is too far? Like, what's right? What can we do in a relationship? What cannot we do? I'm actually going to give you a verse I think is a good measuring verse for us from the book of Song of Solomon. In chapter 8, verse 4, it says, promise me, O women of Jerusalem, not to awaken love until the time is right. Do not awaken love until the time is right. If we can all pretend like we're adults in this room for a second, when it says, when your body awakens for love, when your body awakens or prepares itself for sex, and if you're not thinking, what does that mean? You can talk to your neighbor later, talk to your parent later. I'm not going any further than that. But at the point that your body has prepared itself and has awakened itself for sex, that line, you should look behind you. You passed it. You passed it. And so before you get to that place, you should have the moment with your significant other. And hey, here are some boundaries that we are just not, as a person who follows God, I want to honor you in this relationship. I want to protect your purity and my purity to do this God's way. This is where we're not going to go. And I think we do this all the time in other areas of our life, so why should we not do this here? I was in Colorado Springs a couple years ago, and I was out on a morning run through the Garden of the Gods. Have you ever been there before? What a wonderful run that was. So cool in the morning, and as I'm on my run, I kept passing these signs that said, danger, warning, rattlesnakes in area. And so you better believe I kept my eyes open and saw a rattlesnake on my run, and I didn't in my mind go, I wonder how close that I can get to this dangerous, venomous snake before he strikes me. No, I ran around it and fast. One of my fastest runs I probably ever went on. So if we're wise, we want to honor God with our sexual purity. Instead of getting as close to the line as possible, we should create margin. And we want to stay away from the line. Now, to be clear, there is a right time to awaken love. The time for sex is in a covenant of marriage between a man and a woman. And you might go, this is 2026, dude. That's so old-fashioned. You're so out of touch. It's unreasonable for two consenting adults to wait till they're married. But if we understand that sex represents the union between two people in a holy covenant of marriage who becomes one flesh, not to be separated by God under that covenant. He is the one who created marriage, designed marriage. He is the one who designed sex to be a gift to a marriage covenant. And our culture has taken it and has cheapened it and has said, this doesn't work for us. And you look around in our culture of what has got us, and you see how many marriages in just our area alone in the country, how many of them end in divorce. And if you want what everybody else has, do what everybody else does. But if you want what only a few people find, you do what God says. Hey, I designed this, I created this for you. Use it well, follow. My best is for you. And so what does Boaz do? He treats Ruth honorably. He protects her purity. He protects his own purity. He says to her in verse 11, he says, now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do all that you ask. And he says, all the people of my town will know that you are a woman of noble character. There is not going to be a walk of shame tonight. I'm going to honor you. I'm going to do the right thing. So now that they're together, now that there's been she's interested, he's interested, they're going to get married, right? Have happily ever after. Not so fast. Verse 12. Although it is true, he says, I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he's not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. So just like any great love story, we have an obstacle. There's an obstacle. They can't be together. And we're going to talk about that next week, that obstacle and how it happens, but it will lead us to a point that, ladies, if you're not here, I want you to know this right now. If he will do what it takes to win your heart, he will do what it takes to keep your heart. So do not settle for anything less than that. I can't wait to share that with you. Next week is fun. This week is weird. All right, got to come back for the fun. All right, 4 takeaways from this message today. Number 1, it's often wise to put yourself in the right place to increase the odds of meeting the right person. If you're a follower of Jesus, why would you not want to meet someone who follows Jesus? So get more involved in your church, in your Christian community. Probably a better place to meet that person than the bar. You're going to have better odds of meeting that person. Next, number 2, don't overlook those who are right in front of you. God's sovereignty may be already in action in your life. And you see, oh, I never even thought about that person that God has brought into my circle of network. See who's there when you open your eyes, what God is up to. Number 3, even if you don't get it right, God can make it right. And maybe that's a message that somebody here or online needs to hear that today. Because you look at what's going on currently in your marriage or in your dating life, and you're like, man, I am so far away from what God would want from me. It is not too late. It is not too late. He is a forgiving God. He is a God who redeems. And number 4, if you want a marriage that honors God today, or in the future, live a life that honors God today. Don't wait. Don't be like, well, in the future when I get married, in the future when we have kids, in the future when they get out of. Now, today, begin to honor God. Follow him in the steps today. So spiritually summarizing this up, what we see here is Boaz. He wants to be her guardian redeemer, but he's not obligated. It's not even his legal right to care for Ruth in that way. First of all, he wasn't the closest relative, which sounds very Kentucky, I get it. She wasn't even from Bethlehem. She was from Moab. But my wife's from Kentucky. She's going to let me hear about that one later, all right? He still chose to sacrifice for her. He didn't have to do it, wasn't obligated to do it, but he sacrificed for her. And what you see in the book of Ruth is because of her one decision to leave Moab and to come to Bethlehem to be with her mother-in-law, to be faithful to her, because of his one decision to commit himself to Ruth, to pursue her, to protect her, to be her redeemer, because of each of their decisions, they enter into a covenant of marriage, and because of their marriage, they have a son. Spoiler alert, his name is Obed. And if you look at Obed's lineage, because he has a son, and then he has a son, generations passed. Many generations later, guess who comes from the line of Ruth and Boaz? But our guardian redeemer, Jesus, who was not obligated to love us, but because of his great love for you, he became the Lamb of God. He'd stripped of all of his heavenly glory, who shed his blood on the cross for your sins and for my sins. And he gave his life for you, but he did not stay dead. God raised him from the dead so that you could have life and have life to the full. Jesus is your guardian redeemer. He is your covering. I'm going to ask our people who are passing communion to go ahead and start doing that. And while they're passing the communion, here's the question for you, because this is time for this. It's time for a DTR. As you have the bread, as you take the juice today, who is Jesus to you? Only you can answer that question, not you, your significant other, or your mom, or your dad. Who is Jesus to you? Last service, Jordan, who has been in our church now for a couple months since our Thursday night services have started, he had a DTR and said, it's time to make Jesus my Lord and my King, and was baptized in our 9:30 hour to show everybody, this is who I am. I am a follower of Christ. I am his kid. And so Jordan, a 35-year-old man, single, say, I'm going to do things right going forward in my life. Who's that DTR for you? And I think some of us, we are 18 inches away from understanding who Jesus really is. Because it's about 18 inches from your head to your heart. And you know who Jesus is here. You've heard about him, but you don't know him here. Who is Jesus to you? Is he just some historical figure that did some cool things, was a moral dude? Or is he Lord, King, Redeemer of your life? It's what he asks. He wants to cover you. His door is open. He says, come on in. I want you in my family. Look what I've done for you. So as you take the bread today, as you take the juice today, if you are already a follower of Jesus, celebrate. Remind yourself who you are, that he is a good, giving, redeeming God. But if you're far from him today, this is an opportunity to go all in. Say, God, I'm done going my own way. I want to trust in your sovereign good will for my life, and I want to follow you, be obedient to it. And maybe that first step is for you is to go in the waters of baptism, to go public with that. Join Jordan in that decision. So let's take communion at this time, and then we're going to continue on our worship.